everyone, today we're going to temper some chocolate. Tempering chocolate is one of the techniques that took me the longest time to learn, and I've learned in the past few years this technique from the Valrhona Chef Guillaume. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I always say it wrong. And he said he learned it from one of his chefs in Japan, and it's just like life-changingly easy compared to the other methods. There are lots of different methods for tempering chocolate. I'm not saying that this is the best or the only one. This is the one I use and I like. You do what works for you. So I've got some caramelized white chocolate here. This is about 250 grams. I'm going to pop that into a bowl. I'm leaving 4 pieces aside. I'm going to pop that over a pot of simmering water, bring it to a boil, and I'm going to melt the chocolate. Once my water is boiled, I've taken it off the heat, so the residual heat will continue to melt my chocolate. I'm just going to stir it to continue to melt it. What I want to do is I want my chocolate to be sitting at about between 30 and 33 degrees and fully melted. So if I melt it fully, if I just leave it to melt, it's going to heat up to about 45 degrees, which is fine. It's just a bit too warm. So we then need to let it cool down. So tempering chocolate is basically creating beta crystals within the cocoa butter, which is the fat that is inside our chocolate. And those crystals in the cocoa butter allow our chocolate to have a lovely shine and a lovely snap and a really nice mouthfeel and make it easier to handle. If your chocolate is not tempered, it will be grainy. It will be really hard to work with. It will take a very long time to set, is the biggest thing. And it's just generally really annoying. So once you learn how to temper, your life will be much easier. So I'm going to have a check of the temperature here. So this chocolate's at 40 degrees. It's not fully melted. What I am going to do is I'm going to take a little bit out and spread it on my bench there, which hopefully you can see. I don't know if you can, so just in case, I'm going to spread a little bit there, and hopefully you can see that. We'll see. And I'm going to see how long that takes to set. So that's fully untempered chocolate sitting at about 45 degrees, or about 40 degrees, sorry. So now I'm going to take my bowl off the pot of water. You can also melt your chocolate in the microwave. Those are kind of the two options, microwave or pot of water, whatever works for you. I'm just going to keep stirring it until those pieces of chocolate have melted and until it has cooled down to between 30 and 33 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the beta crystals to our chocolate by using these pieces that we set aside earlier. So the pieces that we set aside earlier are already tempered. Anytime you buy chocolate, it is already tempered. As soon as it melts, the beta crystals are the first thing to go. So you need to reintroduce them some way. We're taking advantage of the fact that the chocolate we bought already has those beta crystals. Other methods of tempering, like tabling or seeding, they are using a lot more movement, which creates the beta crystals from nothing. So this is a much faster way, and I find it's a lot easier for small batches as well. If I'm doing a large batch, generally I will still table my chocolate, which means spreading it, ideally on a marble slab, but you can spread it on anything that's clean and dry, and moving it around to cool it down and to encourage the crystallization. So it's both temperature and movement that are key for crystallization. So I'm down to 36 degrees. Just going to keep stirring my chocolate. If I were to add in my chocolate now, these pieces here, what's going to happen is the beta crystals in there, they're just going to melt because it's too warm. So that's why the temperature between 30 and 33 degrees is so important. I'm using one of these handy little laser thermometers. They're really good for chocolate because they read the surface temperature, but they read it quickly. So you instantly know what temperature it is. They are, however, not always as accurate as a probe thermometer, and they're not as good for anything that creates steam. So if you're making a patisserie or Italian meringue and you want to know the temperature of the syrup that you're cooking, this isn't going to give you an accurate temperature. So they're really good for chocolate, or I like them for chocolate, but for everything else, a bit of a pain. You'll notice chocolate takes quite a while to cool down once it's too warm, which can be annoying. Some people will use a method where they'll put their chocolate in a bowl of ice or ice water. I don't like doing that because I am very clumsy and I will get water or ice in the chocolate somehow. And because chocolate is pure fat, if I were to get ice in there, it's not pure fat, but there's no water in there. And if I were to add some water in the incorrect ratio, so a really small amount, then my chocolate is going to seize, the fat will harden up. If you add enough water, then you can turn your chocolate into a ganache, which is why water ganaches, or even why a normal ganache, will work. Amazing, I'm almost there. See my beautifully melted chocolate. I am using dulce, which is caramelized white chocolate, because I'm going to make some minions with these. I got scared of saying that for a second and I don't know why. And I just love caramelized white chocolate. It's my favorite. This one in particular, the Valrhona one, is delicious. It's not too sweet. Yeah, it just has all the things I like. You'll also see that the Valrhona chocolate has a really nice fluidity, which makes it a lot easier to work with when you're creating tempered chocolate decorations or bonbons or even mendiants like this. The more fluid it is, the easier it is to get a thinner bit of chocolate. So my chocolate's cooled down to below 33 degrees now. I'm going to take 2 pieces. I just do 2 pieces at a time because they fit together nicely. And I have a zester, a microplane. Doesn't have to be a microplane, this is just what I have. I'm going to start shaving it in. And so shaving it in like this gives a large surface area because we're taking these pieces, and as they get shaved, there's so much more of it that's going to touch the chocolate. It also means it will slightly melt in, and when we stir it in, we're agitating it. It's introducing beta crystals, and it's creating a chain reaction to create more beta crystals to temper our chocolate. So I normally do 2 pieces to start with. Give it a good mix. And then check the temperature. With white or caramelized white chocolate, which this is, I like to bring the chocolate to below 29 degrees by shaving it in. If it is dark chocolate, then I like to leave it or use it when it's about below 30, so 29 degrees. Your tempered chocolate will start to set quite quickly, which is good. That means you've tempered it properly, but you have to use it fast. So once it starts to get to about 25, 26 degrees, it's going to start to set quite rapidly. So you need to be ready with everything you need before you start tempering. And if your chocolate sets, you can temper it again. Just remember that every time you melt chocolate, you're losing the beta crystals. So if I were to reheat this over 30 degrees, those beta crystals are going to start to melt and I have to start again. So I am at 30 degrees, just a little bit above where I want to be. I'm going to take some of these little shaving bits, add in the last of my chocolate, and then I should be ready to go. So I'll give that a very good stir, because we still want to have movement. It's movement and temperature that give us the crystals. For me, once I understood that, it made things much easier to understand. Perfect. So I'm going to take another little bit of chocolate and swipe it on there. We're going to see how long this takes to set. So it should take less than 2 minutes at room temperature to set. So you can see my chocolate that I first put on the bench is still soft, whereas my tempered chocolate is already nicely set. Sorry, I had some of the soft chocolate on my fingers, but it's firmly set. It's ready to go. And that means you've just tempered some chocolate. And now we're going to make something fun with it. Yeah. Let me know what else you might, other techniques you might want to learn. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.